I ate alone on my 73rd birthday while my family was on vacation using my money. My name is Claudine Bennett. I'm 73 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. And yesterday, I ate birthday cake by myself, not because I wanted to, but because my family was off sunbathing in Jamaica, using my retirement savings. You'd think after raising 3 children, helping 2 of them through rehab, and co-signing every mortgage and mistake they ever made, I'd get a little love on my birthday. But what I got was silence, not even a phone call. I sat in my little kitchen, alone, with a cold slice of carrot cake and a memory of what used to be. If this story resonated with your soul, hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments what country you're watching from. I sat at my kitchen table, the one I'd had since the kids were small, its edges worn smooth from years of spilled juice and family dinners. The clock ticked past 6 p.m., each second louder than the last. I'd spent the morning fussing over a small spread, roast chicken, collards, and a carrot cake I baked from scratch. 3 extra place settings gleamed under the light. Forks, knives, plates, all arranged with a hope I didn't dare admit to myself. My kids, Daryl, Vanessa, and little Corey, who wasn't so little anymore, might show. They might. My phone buzzed once, slicing through the quiet. A text from Vanessa, my middle child, popped up on the screen. Happy B-Day, Ma. No punctuation, no warmth. I stared at it, waiting for more, for a call, for something that felt like love. Nothing came. I set the phone down, face up, just in case. The doorbell chimed, and my heart leapt. Foolish as it was, I smoothed my blouse, checked my hair in the hall mirror, and opened the door to find Miss Arlene, my neighbor of 20 years, standing there with a foil-covered dish. "Claudine, you didn't tell me it was your birthday," she said, her voice bright but her eyes sharp. "Taking in the empty house behind me. Brought you some cornbread, made it fresh this morning." I forced a smile, stepping aside to let her in. "You didn't have to, Arlene. Come on in though. I got plenty." She set the dish on the counter, her gaze lingering on the table, on the untouched plates. "You got folks, Claudine, but you look like you lost everybody." Her words landed like a slap, though I knew she didn't mean it that way. I laughed it off, the sound brittle. "Oh, you know how it is. Kids get busy. They got their own lives." Arlene raised an eyebrow, her lips pursing like she was chewing on something she wouldn't say. "Well, you cut me a slice of that cake, and I'll keep you company for a bit." We sat, and I served her a wedge of carrot cake, the cream cheese, frosting soft from sitting out too long. She talked about her grandkids, the new pastor at church, the stray cat she'd taken in. I nodded, smiled, but my mind wandered to the kids. Daryl, 42, always chasing some new scheme. Vanessa, 38, who'd been clean for 2 years but still carried that edge, like she was one bad day from breaking. And Corey, my baby at 35, who'd moved to Chicago and barely called anymore. I'd raised them alone after their daddy left, poured every dime and every ounce of myself into them, co-signed loans, paid for rehab, bailed them out of messes they swore they'd never repeat. And now, here I was, eating cake with my neighbor because my own blood couldn't be bothered. "You all right, Claudine?" Arlene's voice pulled me back. She was watching me, her fork hovering over her plate. "Fine," I said, too quick. "Just thinking about the kids. They're on a trip. Jamaica, I think." "Jamaica?" Arlene's eyes widened. "Fancy, they take you with them." I shook my head, my throat tightening. "Not this time. Work, you know, couldn't get away." She didn't buy it. I could see it in the way she tilted her head, but she let it go. "Well, next year, you tell 'em Miss Arlene said you deserve a trip too." After she left, I cleared the table, leaving the extra place settings out, just in case. I sat back down, staring at the cake, now half gone. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest. I picked up my phone again, scrolled through old texts. The last one from Daryl was 2 weeks ago. "Ma, can you send $200? Emergency." I'd sent it, like always. No questions asked. Corey hadn't texted since Christmas. Vanessa's message from today stared back at me, cold and curt. I set the phone down and cut myself another slice of cake. It tasted like ash. The next morning, I woke to the sound of the mail slot clattering, bills, junk, and a bank statement. I almost tossed it aside. Retirement accounts don't change much when you're not adding to them. But something made me open it. My eyes scanned the numbers, and my breath caught. My savings, the nest egg I'd built over decades of overtime and skipped vacations, was gutted. Nearly $12,000 gone. Withdrawn over the past 3 weeks in chunks. $2,000 here, $3,500 there, $500 at an ATM in Montego Bay. My hands shook as I dialed the bank. The hold music mocked me, cheerful and looping, until a tired-sounding woman picked up. "Mrs. Bennett, yes, I see the transactions. They were authorized by a joint account holder, Daryl Bennett." "Daryl," my voice cracked. "He's on there for emergencies, not this." "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said, her tone flat. "If he's a joint holder, he has full access. You'd need to file a police report if you believe it's fraud." Fraud. The word hung in the air. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there, staring at the statement. $12,000, enough for a new roof. Enough for the surgery my doctor kept hinting at for my knee. Enough for a trip I'd never take. I grabbed my phone and called Daryl. It rang 4 times before he picked up. "Yo, Ma, what's good?" His voice was lazy, like he was lounging somewhere warm. I heard laughter in the background, music. "Daryl, what's this I'm seeing on my bank statement? $12,000 gone. You know anything about that?" A pause, then a chuckle, like I'd told a joke. "Ma, chill. It was a family vacation. Me, Vanessa, Corey, the kids. We needed a break. You always said, whatever we need, right?" My blood ran cold. "A vacation?" "Daryl, that was my savings. My retirement. You didn't even ask." "Ask." His tone sharpened. "You're always going on about family, Ma. We're family. What's yours is ours. Besides, you didn't want to come. You hate flying." I stopped, my voice breaking. "Daryl, you took my money. For a trip you didn't even invite me on my birthday." Another pause. The laughter in the background faded, like someone had turned down the music. "Look, Ma, I didn't think it was a big deal. We'll pay you back, eventually. Don't make this a thing. Don't make this a thing." I was shouting now, my voice echoing in the empty kitchen. "You left me here, Daryl, alone. On my birthday. Eating cake by myself while y'all are out there spending my money." "Ma, you're being dramatic," he said, and I could hear the eye roll in his voice. "We'll talk when I get back. Gotta go." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Dramatic. He'd called me dramatic. I set the phone down, my hands trembling, and looked at the bank statement again. The numbers blurred as tears welled up. I'd given them everything. My time, my money, my heart. And this was what I got. Silence. A stolen birthday. A hollowed-out savings account. I stood, my knees aching, and walked to the sink. The extra plates still sat on the table, mocking me. I wanted to smash them, to scream, to do something to make the hurt stop. Instead, I turned on the faucet, letting the water drown out the quiet. I thought about calling Vanessa, Corey, demanding answers. But what would they say? The same excuses? The same lies? A memory flashed. Daryl, maybe 10 years old, tugging at my apron while I cooked. "Ma, when I grow up, I'm gonna buy you a big house. You'll never have to work again." I'd laughed, kissed his forehead, believed him. Now here I was, 73, alone in a house I'd paid for, while he spent my money on a beach I'd never see. The phone buzzed again. I lunged for it, hoping, praying it was one of them, calling to apologize, to explain. It was a text from Corey. "Ma, heard you're upset. It's just money. We'll figure it out. Just money." I set the phone down, my chest tight. The hurt was growing, twisting into something else, something sharp and cold. Anger, betrayal. I walked to the living room, to the old photo albums on the shelf. I pulled one down, flipped to a picture from Vanessa's high school graduation. The four of us, smiling, arms around each other. I'd been so proud, so hopeful. Where had that family gone? Had they ever really been mine? The doorbell rang again, startling me. I wiped my eyes, set the album down, and opened the door. It was Miss Arlene, holding a small bouquet of daisies. "Forgot to give you these yesterday," she said softly. "Thought they'd brighten your day." I took them, my throat too tight to speak. She didn't ask questions, didn't push, just squeezed my hand and left. I stood there clutching the flowers and made a decision. I wasn't going to let this go. Not the money, not the betrayal, not the loneliness. My kids had taken enough. It was time to take something back. I stood in the doorway, clutching Arlene's daisies, their petals soft against my trembling fingers. The decision I'd made felt like a spark in my chest, fragile but growing. My kids had taken my money, my birthday, my trust, but they wouldn't take my fight. I set the flowers in a vase, their white blooms stark against the dim kitchen, and grabbed my coat. There was someone I needed to see, someone who might help me claw back what was mine. The drive to Judge Mayfield's office was a blur of Atlanta's familiar streets, peach trees blooming, traffic humming, the world moving on while mine crumbled. Judge Mayfield had been a friend since our church days in the 80s, back when he was just a lawyer with a crooked tie and big dreams. He'd helped me draft my will after my husband left, when I was scared of leaving my kids with nothing. Now, at 73, I needed his wisdom again. His office smelled of old books and lemon polish, the kind of place that felt steady, like it could hold your secrets. He rose from his desk, his white hair thinner than I remembered, and gave me a warm smile. "Claudine Bennett, as I live and breathe. What brings you here? Not another birthday already?" I forced a chuckle, but it came out weak. Yesterday was the day, Harold. Didn't feel much like celebrating. We sat, and I poured it all out. The empty table, the $12,000 gone, Daryl's flippant, chill "ma," the silence from Vanessa and Corey. Harold listened, his face creasing with concern, his fingers tapping the desk like he was already piecing things together. "Claudine," he said when I finished, "you remember that will we set up? The revocable trust." I blinked, the memory fuzzy. "The one for the kids? What about it?" He leaned back, pulling a file from a drawer. "You were smart back then, protective. You added a clause, said if your beneficiaries, meaning Daryl, Vanessa, or Corey, ever mistreated you, you could revoke their rights to the trust. House, savings, all of it. You can cut them out, Claudine, if you choose." The words hit like a gust of cold air. I'd forgotten that clause, buried under years of bailing out my kids, of believing their promises. "Mistreated," I repeated, testing the word. Was that what this was? Stealing my savings, leaving me alone on my birthday, treating me like an ATM? My heart said yes, but my head wasn't ready to decide. I don't know, Harold. They're my kids." He nodded, his eyes kind but firm. "You don't have to do anything today. Just know it's there. You've got power here, Claudine, more than you think." I left his office with the clause echoing in my mind, a lifeline I wasn't sure I could grab. The drive home was heavier, the spark in my chest flickering with doubt. Could I really cut them out? After all I'd sacrificed? I pulled into my driveway, the house looking smaller somehow, like it was shrinking under the weight of my hurt. Inside, I couldn't sit still. The bank statement still lay on the kitchen table, its numbers accusing. I needed something, anything, to make sense of this. My eyes landed on a drawer in the living room, one I hadn't opened in years. It held an old flip phone, a relic from before smartphones took over. I'd kept it for emergencies, back when Daryl was still in rehab, and I needed a backup. On a whim, I powered it on. the screen flickering to life. The battery was low, but it worked. I scrolled through old texts, mostly reminders to myself about doctor's appointments or grocery lists. Then I found it, a group chat between Daryl, Vanessa, and Corey, dated 2 years ago. My thumb hovered over the screen. I shouldn't look. It was private, but they'd taken my money, my trust. I opened it. The messages loaded slowly, each one a punch to the gut. Daryl, she's old and forgetful. Just smile and agree. She'll keep writing checks. Vanessa, lol, yeah. Told her I needed $500 for car repairs. Got a new TV instead. Corey, we gotta move fast. Let's get her house listed by August. Split the cash 3 ways. My heart dropped. A sick lurch, like I'd missed a step on a staircase. I read the words again, hoping I'd misread. But they were clear, sharp, cutting. My kids, my babies, plotting to sell my home out from under me. I sank onto the couch, the phone trembling in my hands. August, that was 6 months from now. Were they still planning it? Had they been laughing about it in Jamaica, sipping drinks bought with my money? I scrolled further, my breath shallow. Another message from Daryl. She'll never notice. Ma's too busy playing saint. Vanessa, as long as she don't check the accounts, keep her distracted. Corey, I'm out here in Chicago, so y'all handle it. Just send my cut. The phone beeped, the battery dying. I plugged it in, my hands moving on autopilot. I wanted to scream, to call them, to demand why. But what would they say? More lies? More, chill, Ma. I set the phone down and stared at the wall. The photo album still open from yesterday. That picture of Vanessa's graduation mocked me now. Those smiles weren't love, they were masks. I thought about Judge Mayfield's words, the trust, the clause. I could revoke it all, leave them with nothing. The idea felt like a blade, sharp and tempting, but heavy with guilt. They were my kids. I'd carried them, raised them, forgiven them 1,000 times. But this was different. This was betrayal, planned and cold. I stood, pacing the living room, my knee aching with every step. The daisies on the table caught my eye, their innocence jarring against the storm in my chest. I needed to know more. Were they still plotting? Was Jamaica just the start? I grabbed my current phone, opened the banking app, and checked the account again. Another withdrawal, $200, posted yesterday, from an ATM in Kingston. My birthday. The anger flared hotter, but beneath it was something else. Fear. If they'd taken this much, what else were they capable of? Selling my house? Draining the rest? I thought of Arlene's words. You look like you lost everybody. Maybe I had, or maybe I'd never had them at all. I sat back down, the old phone still plugged in, its screen glowing faintly. I didn't open the chat again. I didn't need to. The words were burned into me. I thought about calling Arlene, telling her everything, but shame stopped me. How do you admit your own kids see you as a mark? Instead, I opened the banking app again, staring at the transactions. There was a pattern, small withdrawals at first, then bigger ones, like they were testing how much they could take before I noticed. A knock at the door startled me. My heart jumped, half hoping it was one of them, half dreading it. I opened it to find a delivery man, holding a small package. Claudine Bennett? He asked. I nodded, signing for it. The box was light, addressed in Vanessa's handwriting. A birthday gift, maybe. A flicker of hope sparked, but I squashed it fast. I tore open the package. Inside was a cheap scarf, the kind you'd find at a gas station, and a note. Sorry we missed your B-Day, Ma. Love you, love you. The words felt hollow, a cruel echo of the group chat. I dropped the scarf, my hands shaking. It wasn't a gift, it was a distraction, just like they'd planned. Keep her smiling, keep her writing checks. I walked back to the couch, the clause in my mind again. Revoke the trust, cut them out. The thought was louder now, less guilt, more resolve. But I needed proof, something more than an old phone and a gutted bank account. I grabbed my keys. Tomorrow, I'd go to the bank, pull every record, every transaction. I'd call a lawyer, not just Mayfield, but someone who could dig deeper. If my kids were planning to take my house, I'd find out. And if they were, I'd use that clause. I'd take back what was mine, even if it meant losing them for good. The phone buzzed, the old one. A new message, impossible but there, from Corey. "Ma, you up? We need to talk." My blood ran cold. The phone was 2 years old, disconnected. How was he texting it? I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Was it a glitch? A hack? Or had they known I'd find it all along? I stared at the glowing screen of the old phone. Corey's impossible text burning into me. "Ma, you up? We need to talk." My pulse thundered, the house too quiet around me. A disconnected phone shouldn't receive messages. Was it a glitch? A trick? Or had they known I'd find their chat, their plans to bleed me dry? I set the phone down, my hands unsteady, and locked the door. Sleep didn't come that night. The clause Judge Mayfield mentioned, the betrayals on that phone, the cheap scarf, they churned in my mind, fueling a plan. I wasn't just going to protect myself, I was going to make them face me. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I called Daryl, Vanessa, and Corey, my voice steady, despite the ache in my chest. "Come over tomorrow," I said. "We need to talk about my will. It's time to get things in order." I heard the shift in their tones. Daryl's too eager. "Sure, Ma." Vanessa's quick. "I'll be there." Corey's cautious. "What's this about?" They thought they'd won. That I was still the same old Claudine, ready to hand over whatever they wanted. They were wrong. The next day, I prepared the house like I was setting a stage. Cleaned the table, set out coffee, even baked cornbread to soften the mood. But in my purse, tucked beneath my scarf, was a small recorder, its red light ready to capture every word. They arrived together, a rare sight, their smiles too bright, like kids caught with their hands in the cookie jar, but sure they'd talk their way out. Daryl hugged me, his cologne sharp, with a hint of rum. Vanessa kissed my cheek, her eyes darting to the living room, probably sizing up the house's value. Corey hung back, quieter, his Chicago polish not quite hiding his unease. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the table. They did, their chatter forced. Daryl joking about the traffic, Vanessa complimenting the cornbread, Corey checking his phone. I let them talk, let them think this was their show. Then I folded my hands and looked at each of them, one by one. "I've been thinking about what happens when I'm gone," I started, my voice calm, deliberate. "This house, the savings, everything I've worked for. I made a decision this morning. I updated my paperwork. I'm donating this house to a women's shelter after I pass." The air shifted, their faces freezing. Daryl's smile vanished. Vanessa's coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Corey's phone slipped onto the table with a clatter. "What?" Daryl said, his voice sharp. "Ma, you can't be serious." "I am," I said, leaning back. "I signed the papers. It's done. The shelter gets the house. They do good work, help women who've been used up and tossed aside. Women like me." Vanessa laughed, a nervous bark. "Ma, come on. This is our home. You raised us here. You can't just give it away." "Our home?" I repeated, my voice still soft but edged now. "The one you plan to sell by August. Split the cash 3 ways?" Their eyes widened, a silent alarm passing between them. Corey spoke first, his voice low. "What are you talking about, Ma?" "I found the texts," I said, letting the words land. "On the old phone. You thought I was too old, too forgetful to notice. Smile and agree, you said. Keep her writing checks." Daryl slammed his hand on the table. "That's not fair. Those were we were joking, Ma. You know how we talk." "Joking," I said, my gaze locking on him. "Was Jamaica a joke? The $12,000 you took, my birthday you forgot." Vanessa's face crumpled, but her tears felt rehearsed. "Ma, we didn't mean to hurt you. We just needed a break. You always said family comes first." "Family," I echoed, the word bitter. "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't plot to take what's not theirs." Corey leaned forward, his voice tight. "You're blowing this out of proportion. We'd never sell the house without talking to you." I held his stare, unblinking. "You already did, or planned to." I have it in writing. They started talking over each other. Daryl blaming Vanessa for the texts. Vanessa swearing it was Corey's idea. Corey insisting he was just going along. I let them unravel, their voices rising, their greed laid bare. The recorder in my purse caught every word, every excuse, every crack in their facade. What they didn't know, what I hadn't told them, was the twist I'd pulled. I owned 2 properties, not one. This house, the one they were fighting over, was my main home, the heart of our family's memories. But I also had a smaller rental property across town, a modest duplex I'd bought years ago as an investment. This morning, I'd sold the duplex, not this house, to the women's shelter for $1, a symbolic transfer to ensure it went to women in need. The paperwork for my main home was different. I'd removed Daryl from the deed, no longer joint, leaving it solely in my name. They'd inherit nothing unless I chose it. I stood, cutting through their bickering. Enough. You've taken enough from me. I'm done. Daryl's face darkened. You do this, Ma. You're cutting us out for good. You'll regret it. Regret, I said, stepping closer. The only thing I regret is trusting you. He stood, towering over me, his voice low. Don't push us, Ma. You don't want to see what happens. My heart raced, but I didn't flinch. Sit down, Daryl. You're not scaring me. He hesitated, then sank back into his chair, his bravado crumbling. Vanessa sobbed louder. Corey stared at the floor. I turned off the recorder, my hands steady now. They left soon after, their apologies hollow, their faces a mix of shame and defiance. That night, I sat at my desk, the house quiet again. I uploaded the recording to my laptop and emailed it to my lawyer, a woman Judge Mayfield recommended, with a note. This is what they said. Daryl threatened me. Use it if you need to. I didn't know what came next. Legal battles, maybe, or more lies from my kids. But I'd drawn a line. The duplex was gone. The deed was mine. And their words were preserved. Leverage if they pushed further. As I shut down the laptop, the old phone buzzed again. Another impossible text from Corey. Ma, let's fix this, please. I didn't reply. I unplugged the phone, let its screen go dark, and walked to the kitchen. The daisies still sat on the table, their petals curling now. I touched one, its softness grounding me. I wasn't alone, not entirely. I had Arlene, the shelter, my own strength. My kids had taken much, but they hadn't taken that. I sat at my kitchen table, the daisies now wilted, but still holding their place. A reminder of Arlene's kindness. The recording was with my lawyer, Daryl's threat captured. My home's deed, solely mine. The weight of my children's betrayal lingered, but so did my resolve. Corey's last text, Ma, let's fix this, please, sat unanswered on the old phone. Its screen dark. I wasn't ready to hear their excuses. Not yet, maybe not ever, but I was ready to live for me. The idea came like a whisper, one I'd buried long ago. A cruise. I'd dreamed of it since I was young, picturing turquoise waters and endless skies. But I'd always put it off. Kids, bills, their endless needs. Now, with the duplex sold and my savings secured, I booked it. A 7-day Caribbean cruise, leaving from Miami. My 74th birthday would fall during the trip, and I'd celebrate it on my terms. The ship was a floating city, all gleaming decks and glittering lights. I stepped aboard, my suitcase light, but my heart lighter. The first day, I felt out of place. A 74-year-old woman, alone among families and couples. But at dinner, a woman with a warm Louisiana drawl slid into the seat beside me. Mind if I join you, Cher? Name's Delphine. She was a retired chef, a widow with a laugh that filled the room. By dessert, we were swapping stories. Her about her late husband's gumbo obsession. Me about Atlanta's changing skyline. The next day, I met Ruby, a gospel singer with a voice like thunder and a smile that felt like home. She caught me humming in the lounge and insisted I join her for karaoke. Girl, you got soul in that voice, she said, dragging me to the stage. We belted out Amazing Grace, her harmonies lifting my shaky notes. and the crowd cheered. Then there was Marcus, a quiet retiree from Savannah who'd been a history teacher. He joined us for trivia nights, his dry humor sneaking up on us until we were doubled over laughing. They became my crew, my chosen family. We explored ports together, St. Lucia's beaches, Barbados's markets, sharing stories over rum punch and sunset views. Delphine taught me to dance Zydeco on the deck, her hips swaying as she teased, "Claudine, you move like you're 50, not 74. Ruby prayed with me one morning, her hand over mine, asking for peace to fill the holes my kids left. Marcus listened when I finally told them about the betrayal, his eyes steady. "You didn't deserve that," he said simply, "but you're stronger than they know." My 74th birthday arrived mid-cruise, the sea sparkling under a cloudless sky. Delphine, Ruby, and Marcus planned it all. A private dinner on the upper deck, a table laden with jerk chicken, plantains, and a coconut cake Delphine had sweet-talked the kitchen into making. They sang "Happy Birthday," Ruby's voice soaring, and gifted me a small charm bracelet. Each charm a nod to our trip, a tiny ship, a palm tree, a musical note. I laughed, tears brimming, as we toasted with sparkling cider. Marcus snapped a photo, me at the head of the table, laughing, surrounded by people who saw me, really saw me. Later, I posted it online with a caption, "You don't need blood to find family. You just need people who see your worth." The comments flooded in, strangers sharing their own stories of rebuilding after betrayal. One wrote, "I cut off my sister after she stole from me, found my tribe at a book club." Another, "Lost my kids to their choices, but volunteering saved me." I read each one, my heart swelling. Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from the people who were supposed to love you? How did you rise? I typed, inviting them to share, to connect. Their words reminded me I wasn't alone. Back home in Atlanta, the cruise's glow lingered, but the silence from my kids didn't. No calls, no texts, not even after the confrontation. I sat at my desk, the same one where I'd emailed the recording, and pulled out 3 sheets of stationery. My hand shook as I wrote, but the words came steady, each one a release. To Daryl, "It hurt me more than you'll ever know. Watching you take without asking. Planning to sell what I built. I've learned to stop setting myself on fire to keep others warm. Don't call me unless it's with a clean heart." To Vanessa, "Your tears didn't fool me. Not after your texts. I gave you everything, my money, my trust, and you laughed behind my back. I'm done bleeding for you. Come back when your heart's clean." To Corey, "You were my baby, but you planned with them, thinking I wouldn't notice. I did. I'm choosing me now. Don't call unless you mean it, unless your heart's clean." I sealed each letter, mailed them, and felt a weight lift. They might read them and rage, or cry, or ignore me. It didn't matter. I'd said my piece. The clause in my trust stayed untouched for now, but it was there, a quiet power I could wield if they pushed me again. The next morning, I walked to the community center down the street, a place I'd passed 1,000 times but never entered. Inside, elderly women gathered, some widowed, some forgotten, all with stories etched in their eyes. I signed up to volunteer, helping with bingo nights, knitting circles, anything to keep their spirits bright. "You got a kind face," one woman, Miss Ethel, told me as we sorted yarn. "But you got a fire in you too." I smiled, thinking of the cruise, of Delphine's laugh, Ruby's voice, Marcus's steady presence. "Took me a while to find it," I said, "but it's there." As I left, the sun was setting, painting Atlanta gold. I walked with a confidence I hadn't felt in years, my steps sure despite my aching knee. My kids might never come back, not with clean hearts or otherwise, but I wasn't waiting anymore. I had Delphine's number saved, Ruby's gospel playlist on my phone, Marcus's promise to visit next month. I had the women at the center, their stories weaving into mine. I had me, stronger, wiser, unbroken. The old phone stayed off, tucked in its drawer. No more ghosts, no more impossible texts. I didn't need them. I was building something new, something mine. One step, one laugh, one day at a time. They thought I was too old to fight back. They thought love made me blind. But what they forgot was that I never forgot how to protect myself. If this story lit something in your chest, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs strength. And tell me, what does family mean to you?